tell all your friends. This is the end of everything. Too late to repent. We'll pay them the blood of the dead. We will sanctify, purify, rejoice in their sorrow and sing. We'll next gen. Could not care anymore. So tell all your friends. This is the end of everything. Too late to repent. The wicked will reap what they sow. We will sanctify, purify, rejoice in their sorrow and sing. Oh, next gen. Could not care anymore. Somebody call the
The noise that you make, or is noise the wrong word? The noise that you make does fit to this weather.
Yeah, I think so. I think noise is the perfect word.
Now, what do you want to reach with this noise? Do you want to spread aggression?
No, not really. Just want to make some sounds that maybe people might not hear the rest of the day.
What is so attractive to making this sound?
It's fun. It's like a little kid with a really big toy.
Okay, it's fun, but it's so loud.
What, are you saying you don't like it?
Yeah, well, I like it.
No, come on. Don't. He's lying to people. He's lying.
Well, no. I like some parts of it, but it's so loud all over. It's constantly loud.
I know. Can you believe it? Yeah.
By the way, I get that this is mine now.
How about $20?
Why don't you just relax a little bit? It's only $20.
Life. And what have you found about most of the people that are the street performers?
Well, it's a job like anything else, and they'd probably rather be doing that than washing dishes for somebody. They're very dedicated.
Probably playing spoons rather than washing the spoons.
Well, he doesn't have to wash his spoons because he's so famous now that he has someone else do that for him.
And he's
Spoon tech. And a man with spoons.
Yes.
And so you just saw this guy and you decided to write a song about him?
Well, he's been around for a while, and actually the song came about from well, it's a long story. Do you guys want to hear it?
Not really.
Can
you sum it up real quick?
I don't want to tell it.
I said
Pretty good. Yeah, it's European is the one thing, and then the other thing is it's like you have to take a long flight over there, and then you feel sort of stranded, and the food's different, and it's European.
bleak.
No, it's great. We love going to Europe. Actually, it's really cool.
Oh, you spent a lot of time at the San Diego Zoo, right?
I've only been there once. It was depressing.
You guys are winding up a European tour. How's that been working out for you?
Really awful, actually. No.
What do you look for in a bowling ball?
I look for really big holes, and we got some good-looking balls here, and
because these are quite, I guess, as balls would go.
This is a good-looking ball. Sexy. It's kind of marbly. It's silver. Silver's cool.
But it looks like the holes are too small.
So I'm going to say, screw this. It's good looking, but I don't like it.
What would you?
You can't dance to Soundgarden songs, and you're not likely to go shopping with your girlfriends while listening to Soundgarden material. So
you can dance to Soundgarden songs, but it's embarrassing.
I don't agree with you there.
Meet the new member of Soundgarden.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ben Shepherd, the new member of Soundgarden, bass player extraordinaire, tallest member of the band,
Skinniest.
And the skinniest.
Do the bands kind of work together a lot and influence each other?
Well, it's all sort of a managerial type of thing. We all completely hate each other, and all these things are just arranged by like the Seattle Kingpins and cigar chomping people. They just usher us around in limousines, and we sort of perform on each other's records.
they get us together during picnics and take photos and release them around. See, they are friends.
Yeah. I don't know why they insist on this unity thing, and it's really getting tiring.
Go.
There's been a lot of talk lately, a lot of slander, a lot of talk about Eric July, Ison, and I find it terrible. There's a lot of people out there that want to hate. They want to hate. They criticise ISOM like it's filth. Criticism is racism. And I want you to understand that. If society's taught me anything, is that as white people should be utilising our white shame, our white guilt, and supporting all black artists, no matter how mediocre they are. Sure, Eric July might just be in it for the money. He might be a bit arrogant and condescending, but he's a black artist and you've got to support him. Because without support for our black artists, what would they have? You shouldn't be criticising black artists' work. It's just not on. It's not on. It's totally racist and bigoted. So I would like to say, leave Eric alone. And for all you white people out there having a go at him, try utilising some of your white guilt. Every black artist deserves to be supported. And Eric's a conservative. There's not many of them. It's a sad state of affairs. It really hits me in the heart. I mean, sure, Eric July might use a lot of CGI and graphics and computer-generated art, but that's not the point. He does it anyway, and he's doing it on his own. He's a strong, independent black man, and he's making money. And you lot can't do anything but hate on him. How sad and pathetic you must be. I'm not naming any names, but you know who you are. You know all the ones that have been mean to Eric. You've been mean to him. Mean. And it's not on. It's not on. He's the best thing since Malcolm X.
I told that moron not to take out my Tchaikovsky tape. No matter, let's get started. Here we are, Nancy Moon. The last time we left our heroine, she had just joined my esteemed colleagues at level M. And the soldier, no stop talking, a magician with money issues, a vampire with a checkered past. But there are other teammates she's hit to meet. One in particular might be a little bit shocking for her. I do hope she's not allergic. Back at today, won't you? Like right now.
Well, well, well. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Comicsgate Commandos. Seems like I've got my blur on. That's not supposed to be. But while I fix that, let me introduce my co-host and the Colonel, Colonel Carbon Hart. What's up, Carbon?
Hail. Good to see you.
You too, man. Wednesday. It's weird.
And the eve of 4th of July. Very exciting.
That's right. On the day that we embarrassed those scummy British people. You know, all those British people, they're just scum. You know what I mean? They're filth.
Well, we came from there, so they're like our, forgotten cousins.
They're always shitting on my ancestors. They're always like the Irish are lesser than us. Pissing me off.
It's funny how neighbors can be enemies all the time.
Oh, we've got so many folks in the chat. I'm going to try to scroll up here and name everybody off here. We've got Johnny Scab. What's up, Johnny? We've got Mr. Self-Destruct. We've got Halder 6480. We've got Katie Did's channel. I mean, it's not just her channel, it's her. We've got Mr. Perfect. We've got, keep scrolling here. Oh, look, Carbon Heart, you're in the chat. Holy shit.
I'm here.
We've got Alpha Channel. Hail, Alpha. I don't think we've seen you here before. What's up, man? Or woman? I'm not trying to, did I misgender you? I'm sorry. We got Nicholas.
Go
ahead.
Male for the most part.
Yeah.
Not just a female avatar.
Yeah. There are those weird guys, though, who pretend that they're females. It's just kind of strange. They're called transsexuals. Just kidding. I'm actually not just kidding. The Squid. What's up, the Squid? And I think I got everybody. Did I get everybody? If I didn't, call me some horrible slur term in the chat, please.
You might hear some fireworks in the background tonight as well, in addition to the usual motorcycles, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to the fireworks.
Are they always out there revving their engines, always racing around you?
If the weather is warm enough, which is basically if it's over 40 degrees Fahrenheit, of course.
Gotcha.
Celsius.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, folks. Oh, Mr. Self-Destruct says, woo! Sorry I was late, folks. Oh, Mr. Johnny says, Carbon's biker gangs at war. Yeah.
Well, we do have biker gangs by me. And as a matter of fact, yeah, these guys are probably part of that gang. But I'm not. I'm not a part of the gang.
That's what they all say. The Squid says, like Doc always said, it's a great day to be an American. You're damn right it is. Speaking of Docs, is he in surgery right now? Is he still in he's still in the surgery room?
Dr. Ben?
Yeah, Dr. Ben.
Yeah, there were some invalids that came in. So, yeah, he'll probably be here in a little bit.
That'll do it. If anybody in the chat knows about Tartaria and wants to hop on, I'm totally willing to have you on. Just say that you know about it, and then I'll DM you on Twitter. If we're Nicholas McHugh says Patty looks like a white Ethiopian. I
guess that black shirt makes you look a little lighter than usual.
Yeah, that's true. This is my other what's it called? You know, just tactical shirt, I guess. I don't know what they're called. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special, no longer surprise guest, but a special guest with us here, the original General, General Scab.
How you doing, lads?
Scab. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing some drawing at the minute.
Yeah, looks like it. You got your drawing table there.
Yeah, I'm working on Rock and Roll Ginger.
Dude, that table
designing
looks
some of the...
Good to see you, Johnny.
Good to see you, mate. How you doing?
Great.
Oh, look, we have Dr. Ben here now. What's up, Dr. Ben? How you doing, man?
Busy. It's a busy day.
Did you stitch up the boys?
Yeah, as much as I could. I got some extra pieces left over, but
God,
it'll work.
Casualties.
Frederic Gourmont, I think that's how you say it, says, dress for the job you want. You're damn right, dude.
That's right.
Damn right. I want to be a freedom fighter in South America.
Well, it's gonna be North America soon enough there.
Yeah, you're damn right. So yeah, I want to apologize to the chat for being late today. I've got some issues that are being taken care of. Long story short, I've been dealing with them for like 3 years, but it's all gonna come to an end here pretty soon because I'm fucking sick of it. We're past 30 seconds, right? I can say that. I can say fuck and damn and shit and right.
Tonight we're gonna say anything we want to say.
That's right. Before we get into the main topic at hand, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say something that's very exciting for me. I got in the mail today cover B for Phenomenon issue number 1. And boy, oh boy, it's very exciting. I'm not going to go through all of it here because you guys who bought it will be able to see it all special. There's some cool, like, I very specifically did not put certain things in my advertisement so that when you see it in the issue itself, that'll be the first time you see it, and hopefully it'll like blow your mind. No pun intended. And
did you get a matte cover on that?
I sure did. I love the matte covers, dude.
Nice. Yeah, me too.
See,
Those are good.
I can hold it any way on screen, and it's not gonna. You can see it just fine. This, by the way, is the Peter Gilmore, kind of Soviet propaganda piece I had him do for me, and it says "Nasze budущее в космосе," which means our future is in the cosmos, which is kind of a theme of the Soviets, at least of Diamond, the leader of the Directorate 6, Research and Development. So yeah,
that looks great. I can't wait to get it,
dude. I'm excited to send it out to everybody. Very, very excited. And if I figure out what your real name is before I send this stuff off, I'll send a little something extra in there with it. So yeah.
You're going to be guessing as you're fulfilling.
Right.
How many backers did you have?
Let's see. I had 28 for the first one, and then 13 for the other one. So a little under 50, like 43, 44, I want to say. 2 of them don't count because I backed myself to make sure it was all working correctly.
Yeah.
So I just know that 2 of them don't count.
So you have good chances of guessing who I am.
Yeah. And which you said you got cover B, correct? This one?
That one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great cover.
I got a suspicion that Carbon Heart's actually Morgan Freeman.
I've often thought that myself.
What's that?
Morgan Freeman.
Oh, Morgan Freeman.
I think you're Morgan Freeman in disguise, just putting on a different voice.
Yeah.
Very talented man.
I'm God. Like I'm Bruce Almighty.
Nicholas McHugh says, is the book available in demand now, Pat? No, this book will not go in demand, and it will never be reprinted again. So the people who backed it are the only people who are going to have it. I printed maybe 10 more books than I sold of each cover. So really the point of that was when I get big and famous, not if, when. for issue 1 is going to be like it's going to skyrocket in price. It also has something to do with the fact that I didn't have a lot of money and couldn't print that many books. Oh, there's Johnny ripping that heater over there inside. Jealous.
Got a heater on you.
I got the window open.
I'm just jealous, man. I can't go inside. Go ahead.
Pat, would you be all right with me doing a video review of your book?
Of course. But if you don't say at least 1 or 2 negative things, I'm going to know that you're fucking shilling for me. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna do a review of Carbon Hearts review.
I like that.
That'll be your critique of his critique.
Yeah, that can work. Well, you know, I wouldn't say that I'm brutally honest because I don't believe when people say they're brutally honest, they're finding an excuse to be a dick. You know, obviously I'm going to be honest, but I want to be constructive with my honesty. You know?
Yeah. Well, naturally. And I want to be a comic book writer for the rest of my life. So what I need is, you know, people to be constructive and, so, you know, there's a difference between saying like, I don't like the setting. It's like, okay, well, that's the setting, you know, and there's a difference between doing that and being like, you know, the word bubbles are kind of funky, things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not nitpicking like that. That's lame. But speaking of which, I just got Godlike.
Oh, yeah?
This week. Yeah.
Have you read it through already?
I did.
Which cover did you get?
I got the Dale Keown version cover.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
what do you think?
It's at a later time I'll go in depth, but overall it's very good. I would give it a 8.5 out of 10 because I am honest with, you know, I don't fucking kiss ass. I'm not gonna be like 9.5 out of 10. That's ridiculous. But very, very good. Probably one of the best Comicsgate books so far, in all honesty.
What would you say of the ones you've read so far? Which one would you say is the best?
Out of all Comicsgate books?
Just for everybody listening, this is his opinion. Like, it doesn't mean it is the best. It just means this is what he thinks is the best, which is, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only Comicsgate book that I haven't read is Aaron Lopresti's Wraith of God, which everyone says is the best.
You've got to read that.
Yeah, I got to get that ASAP. But, you know, I mean, I loved Blood Honey and Rex Planet and Inglorious Rex and Battle Brick Road. And even though not everybody likes it, but Cash Grab was very funny. It's not like it's not a serious book, but it's funny as hell.
You were saying that the other day, and you kind of convinced me that I need to get it the next time it is available for purchase.
You will laugh. You will laugh, I guarantee. Yes, Katie says it's actually Black Riding Hood. Black Riding Hood was very good too. Yeah. But
Godlike, really cool concept, Black Riding Hood. I didn't back it, but it looked like a concept.
So far, it's kind of the most balanced in terms of like the level of each thing, like the artwork, the writing, the narrative, and the overall, you know, story and the world. Godlike, it's on an 8 for each of those. Like each of those elements is at an 8. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah.
But I do have some critiques. It's not perfect, but I'll get to that at another time.
Okay. So let's before we forget, let's dive right into the main subject of today, ladies and gentlemen. Tartaria. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. I hadn't really heard anything about this conspiracy theory before.
It's the truth.
It's the truth, he says. And so the general gist of it that I've picked up is that there was an advanced civilization before ours, which I don't, you know, that's to me like a pretty basic thing. But what they're saying is that advanced civilization happened like not even like 1,000 years ago. and that there were these great mud floods. Yeah, see, Frederick Gaumont knows. Tartaria in the mud flood is what he says. So, yeah, that's the whole. And then these giant mud floods kind of obliterated its existence, or the evidence of its existence for the most part. He says not just a conspiracy. We're going to find out today, Frederick. It's all in the old maps, he says. Old maps are damning things, you know. You guys know about the Piri Reis map, right?
Flat Earth.
Have you guys heard of the Piri Reis map?
I haven't. Is that the flat Earth map?
No, it's the map that, I mean, it's a flat map, so it's not going to show that the Earth is a globe, but it's a map that has Antarctica on it, except Antarctica is not covered in snow. It's just like a regular green and brown landmass. And it was dated till I think the 1600s, if I'm not mistaken. Frederick says it was erased from the history books in 1945 in Moscow. Huh.
Sounds about
Are you trying to imply that communists would erase things from history books? Because that doesn't sound like it holds any water, buddy. I'm just kidding. That's obviously, commies are known for changing history, as they're doing right now in this country and in General Scab's country. They've pretty much won in General Scab's country. So his folks, they're in a tight spot. You guys got to figure out what's going on fast. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're going to be fucking Sharia lawing it up in the next few years.
Well,
yeah, seriously. We don't want our cousins over there to get taken over by the Durkas, as they say.
Yeah. See, we've got Mexicans coming over. Mexicans they're copacetic, dude, to Christianity. So, you know, the base underlying ideology of our country and yours. So it's like, it's good for us to a degree. No, it's not good. It's not good for us, but I'm saying it's like better for us than it is for you guys. You guys are, ooh, geez.
Well, Mexicans are hard workers as well, aren't they? I mean,
They are.
the ones
That
that
they
come
are.
over.
in theory.
But we still need to be careful because remember, they fucked up their own country. We don't need them to come here and fuck up our country. We still need to, you know, keep the dominance going.
That's true. So I've got a little video here, folks. Because like I've said before, I don't know a ton about Tartaria. My conspiratorial research has generally leaned towards UFOs and religion. You might say, what's conspiratorial about religion? Well, we can get into that at a later date or maybe even later in the stream. So I didn't really know anything about Tartaria, but I am a free-thinking individual, a man with a free mind, and I'm capable of listening to things that I may or may not agree with, unlike a lot of people on the internet these days, even in Comicsgate. Yeah, but real quick, before we... Hold on, let me read what Frederick said. Another Tartarian fun fact is the Great Wall of China. The walls are pointed outwards towards China. It was built to protect Tartaria from China. Terribly fascinating. We're going to get into all this. Do you guys happen to see the, what would I call it? The debate or so that occurred on Comicsgate Kings? Yeah, see? Mr. Self-Destruct is on it, dude.
Oh, with Paul?
No, what?
Yeah, did you guys
What
see
was
that?
that about?
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, long story short, Paul Rivoche, do you know who he is? He's one of the new kings.
Yeah.
Terribly, terribly talented individual. He also just did a piece for me, which I showed on Twitter the other day. I had him do a piece of Diamond. But he's more conspiratorial minded like me and some other people, and he essentially posed the concept that the moon landing never actually occurred. And dude, like, I don't know how many people were on there, but if there were 10 people on there, 8 of them were like fucking incensed. They were like, how dare you say something like that? And then 2 people were like, interesting. I'd never thought about something like that. And it was just so funny how, like,
How do you get past the Van Allen radiation belt?
Right.
Impossible.
NASA, an organization founded by Nazis and run by the federal government, told us it's real.
Yeah.
It could have gone better. Cecil was actually the only one on board for not believing the original landing. Ethan, I think Ethan's open-minded about it. I think he was playing detective by asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
you know,
think
they put Paul.
more open-minded than he lets on. Like he
Yeah.
comes into this stuff with his like blustery, loud yelling, but I think that he's way more into this stuff than he lets on.
They should have played the footage.
They
As soon as
should
you play, yeah, that original footage.
We watched,
It's
yeah.
fucking, yeah, it's over, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just it was a reminder that most of humanity, when presented with ideas that they don't agree with or that threaten their concept of what is reality, they lose their mind. They just get mad and they just start essentially, not, I wouldn't say they were yelling at him, but they were pretty, like, there were some harsh things said, I think. Like, if you're telling somebody like I'm stupider while I'm listening to this, it's like, bro, first of all, it's really harsh. I love Graham Nolan. I really do. And he's a great writer and a good artist. And I bought
He's a fucking retard.
No, he's not.
Fucking
and I agree
Bane.
with his politics and stuff. But I also really agree how he's like, you know, in shape and working out at his age. You know what I mean? It's a good example for men.
Well, I remember when Graham
Or
said
homos.
that, and he left, and he said, my brain is shrinking. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Graham's kind of he's a strong patriot.
Yes.
And there are people who, you know, they have a lot of American patriotism, and because of that, they kind of refuse to open up to that idea of the moon landing being fake.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Paul kind of, I don't blame him, but he fumbled a little bit because he could have brought up stronger points about it. And also, he made the mistake of saying that he kind of believes all conspiracy theories. Because once you say that, like, I'm also a flat earther, and I'm also this, and I also believe, because once he said that the Challenger explosion, you know, those astronauts escaped,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was like, okay, like, this is a little bit too much now, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still think that proves the old, you know, like, people, because without even seeing all the things that Paul has seen that has made him think what he thinks, those people are like, one, they're like, you're wrong, I'm not willing to listen to your opinion, and you're crazy. And it's like, it actually does astound me, and he made a good point of this, at least during that, you know, your government, all of our governments lied to us very distinctly for 2-3 years about COVID. And all the people like me who were saying this is a virus made by, you know, the United States and China in Wuhan, like, they're like, you're a fucking conspiracy theorist. How could you believe something so crazy? You know, and they would instantly label you. And I lost all of my friends during COVID because of that mentality. And it's like,
yeah, exactly.
I just came to a point where I was like, okay, well, I know what the truth is because I've actually fucking bothered to research it, you know? So when people don't bother to do that, it's like, it's sad because most people are just willing to instantly dismiss somebody and their entire opinion because of one thing that they don't agree with that they've heard that person say. And it's like, you know, it's sad. Woodim says, groan. Just when I thought I'd found another good streamer. Woodim, what was the thing that made you groan exactly? Because that was a little bit ago. I apologize. Frederick Guamont says, just try to prove the moon landing. So many holes in the story. Dude, it's ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous. The most ridiculous part about it is that they taped over their telemetry. Like, literally go fuck yourself. Like, first of all, why should anybody believe you about anything ever if you're that fucking incompetent that you taped over what is, if it's real, the greatest achievement in the entirety of the human species? Like, literally go fuck yourself. That is the stupidest.
Furthermore, somebody in the chat that night on Monday, somebody in the chat made a point that nobody brought up, that in actuality, there are more moon landings, that there are a total of 12 missions to the moon, right? And nobody really talks about it. Here's the thing. That's actually an even stronger point against landing on the moon, because if there were a total of 12 landings or 12 men who walked the moon, how come there wasn't more footage made and shared?
Yeah. You should be able to, like, literally nail us into the ground with all the evidence of the moon, if that's the case, if it's real, because that would be the thing that is the most documented of anything ever. So You know, which would mean, real quick, either you didn't document any of it because there's things that you don't want people to see, which is already a problem, or it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, what's out there in space you don't want us to see? Patrick said conspiratorially. Mr. Self-Destruct says, I love when Graham gave one-of-a-kind original pages from ages ago as a gift to Gary and Az. That's sad. What a waste.
Oh, God.
Us.
That's painful.
The Squid says, to assume that the modern world is the first to advance beyond standard Iron and Bronze Age tools is dumb. The only argument is that the modern world has advancements unique to us. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Like cell phones, I think that's a very unique advancement in technology for this epoch of human history. At least that's just my opinion. Frederick says, we were lied to a lot. Most people are not prepared to question so many things all at once. That's true. That's a good point he makes there. You know, you've got to like pull a thread with people. You can't pull the basket cover off. You got to have them pull one of the, because this basket's made of threads. You see, I know, like this it's a special basket made of threads.
A special basket? What are you talking about, Patrick?
No, he's making an analogy.
Trying to make my allegory work.
Weaving baskets? What?
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor, God.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Perfect says
there's a great line in The Matrix, which The Matrix is more of an influential movie than people realize, because there's kind of like a pre-Matrix and post-Matrix pop culture. If you really think about it, like obviously the being red pilled and blue pilled came from The Matrix. Same thing with being unplugged and being plugged in, a bunch of things. But anyway, there's a great line from Morpheus where he's telling Neo, when he's like explaining everything, he goes, you have to realize most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And as a matter of fact, they're so inured in being in the Matrix that they will fight to protect it if anyone is a threat to it.
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about the real world. And that brings up another point I wanted to kind of make, is that sometimes in media, and by sometimes I mean most of the time in media, I feel like the elite who control it, who control Hollywood and all of this, that they will essentially dunk on the average citizen by literally putting reality into a movie but calling it fiction, and then watching you think it's fiction when they've literally told you what they're doing. Or what reality is. And there's a few movies that I think like Matrix is a good example of that. I know this is going to sound ridiculous to some people, but that's the name of the game with conspiracies. Gods of Egypt was, when I first saw the trailer for that, when it was coming out, I thought this is one of the dumbest looking things I've ever seen in my life. Like, this looks fucking retarded. And then go ahead.
I think Equilibrium's quite realistic as well.
I've not seen that. That's with Christian Bale. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, well, they got people like doped up to believe what they want to believe, and they got to take drugs every day. Kind of weird.
That's not anything like our reality, Johnny.
Yeah.
Let me catch up with the chat here. The Chinese allegedly landed on the dark side of the moon a couple weeks ago. Nobody's talking about it. Bro, they landed on they did their whole dark side of the moon thing like almost a year ago. There was this rover shot of this monolith that they saw, this rectangular stone structure on the moon. They're like, we're going to move in closer to it and we'll give you more pictures later. And then you never heard a damn thing about it. Let me put it like this. I think it's possible that rovers, unmanned aircraft, have been on the moon. I do think that. But I think that the presence of human people has never occurred on the moon. Anyway, Nicholas says men can have words and get over it. They can, but I don't see, Nicholas, do you think that those guys on there I think they're going to look at Paul in a negative light for forever now. That's kind of what it seemed like. Some of them were pretty aggressive about their hatred of his idea that he posed to them, which is funny.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to have. I don't think they're going to dislike him, but definitely it paints a different picture where they're like, okay, this guy's a little nutty. But anyway, they're all fucked up anyway. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
They've all Trump is going to save the world. Squid says, If you want to know how corrupt the institutions are, look into why they are burying Göbekli Tepe instead of learning everything that they can. Yeah, Göbekli Tepe. I mean, that was I first heard about that in 2019. I want to say 2020. It was a while ago, but now everybody seems to be talking about it now. Terribly fascinating. Kevin Everson says, "Oh, hey Kevin, what's going on, man?" He says, "Yeah, and today I would like." And today I would look at those so-called friends and ask them if they want the lie knocked out of them yet. Huh? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I guess he meant if they want the lie knocked out of them yet.
The lie.
Trying to reveal things to friends, yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'm really far behind. Yeah, you see, Kevin, it just gets to a point where they're in a cult and no matter how much evidence you show them, they're not interested in the truth. That's really what it comes down to. Is everything in all of reality comes down to consciousness and the choice to think about things or to believe things or to not believe them. That's what I think anyway. Nicholas says, "Have you ever been to NASA.gov?" Yeah, a couple times. It's kind of infuriating, I guess is the word. Kay did says, "Wow." She's talking about how we let Nicholas McHugh talk in this chat. I know Katie, but he's nice enough.
No, she was reacting to
Nick's right.
Yeah, hail Nicholas.
Yeah, I'm not giving shit to that fucking pronouns.
No, yeah, she's
That guy.
talking about the Graham Nolan thing. Of all the people he could have given it to. Yeah, you're right.
Fucking employee of the Blaze and the pronouns, cocksucker.
Kevin Everson says we can never win their hearts and minds, so fuck it. Kevin, we can't think like that. We can't think like that. Like, there's this thought process in a lot of Christianity today where it's like the world is evil and there will always be sin on the world. What? Why are we thinking like this? We can't be defeatist like this. And that's what I was saying just earlier about consciousness.
Yeah.
If you believe that we can defeat it, that everybody can know what the truth is and then choose it for themselves, then we gotta do what we can to get there. You can't force people to believe anything. That's what the Nazis tried to do. That's what the Soviets tried to do. That's what our government's trying to do right now. You can't force people to believe things. Exactly. But because the devil wants submission, and that's what forcing people to believe things is. But if you show people information and let them believe for themselves, now I think it's fair if you're a religious person to say, well, I've read a lot of, like I've read Revelation or whatever, yada, yada. And the amount of people who are going to end up believing in all this stuff is very few. It's fair to say that because, it's there. I mean, whether or not it's 100% true or not, I don't know. But I'm just saying we can't come at it from a defeatist, defeatist attitude. Mr. Self-Destruct says, great analogy. He's talking about my basket analogy. Thank you. I thought it was pretty good too. The Squid says, I figured out what Scab's voice reminds me of. The orcs from Two Towers that wanted to eat the hobbits.
Speaking of which,
what about them? They're fresh.
That last episode of Mail-On Mysteries, very Lord of the Rings inspired.
Wait, don't give it away. Don't give it away. It's not out for the moment.
The one that had Dale as an archer. That was very, very. That's out to everyone.
Look, guys, if you've ever read The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, that's what the next Mail-In Mysteries is. No. It's essentially just ripped directly out of Brothers Karamazov. You all thought we wouldn't notice, Johnny, but we noticed.
I think Mail-In Mysteries is a homage to a million different films, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
he used references to everything.
Dude, it was great. There were a lot of funny moments in that episode. But we'll, it's gonna. When does it come out, Johnny? Friday?
It'll be out Friday morning, yeah, in England. So it'll be like late Thursday night for you Americans.
Nice. Very nice.
Like
Frederick Gumont. Frederick says the moon is plasma, can't land on it. I don't know, man. Looks like rock to me. That's why you can see through it when it's not full. Sounds like Frederick Gumont is a level planer or a flat earther, as people like to say, a level planer. Paul is adorable, says Nicholas McHugh. Okay, dude. You know, get a room. God.
Nicholas
Felix
is our resident homosexual. Like 7 of 9. He's got 7 of 9.
We don't hold it against him, but he probably wants us to.
Good one.
Thanks. I thought about that last night. Felix Smith, not like that. Okay, not like that. Folks.
Every time you just walk into those.
I know, I do.
You can't snipe somebody for catching them.
Every time I'm trying to make fun of somebody, I end up making fun of myself. Felix Smith says we're living in the 4th epoch of human civilization. Terribly, terribly fascinating that you should say such a thing, Felix Smith. Terribly so. Omni says, why so early? Omni, we're deciding to change the day that we're going to do this to Wednesdays, because Saturdays, a lot of people are out, you know, having a good time, enjoying themselves. I mean, you can already tell we have 16 people on here. Now, that might be because we've got a celebrity on here with us tonight, but 16 is twice as many as we had on last time.
17 at our peak.
Yeah. See, folks, this is how you.
Well, you are the defenders.
Go ahead.
People got to start to realise that the Comicsgate Commandos are the last bastion against every enemy of Comicsgate. You're holding the ground. You're here to advertise it and defend it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about. And the quicker people realise that, you're going to grow, because people need that. Comicsgate needs that right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of idiots out there trying to destroy his reputation.
Hell yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of dishonesty out there. A lot of peacocking, as it were. And we just keep it honest up here. You may not like what we have to say. You may not like everybody on here's opinions. You may disagree with us, but at the very least, we're just going to be right up, directly honest with you people. Like, as it, you know, to toot my own horn, nobody like knew who I was, and people gave me money to make this comic book. I could have just fucking taken your money and spent it on like really nice weed or more Blue Moon, but I didn't. I made a book because I'm honest, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make books. We're here to talk about books and conspiracies. We're here to talk about all kinds of things. We're just here to be honest with folks and to just pose questions and celebrate freedom of speech. I think that's to me the most important thing about Comicsgate, because all freedoms rely upon that freedom, the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression. It all comes down to faith, says Mr. Self-Destruct. Hail Omni. Hail panel. Comicsgate. Survive Infinity 0088. Hail, my guy. What's up? Let's see here. We got New Mail and Mysteries in 2 days from now. Nicholas McHugh says, I view conspiracy theories from an importance/relevance perspective. I did get into OPH Bigary way back in the day. It's what inspired me to try working in politics. I don't know what that is. Is this another conspiracy that I'm going to embarrass myself on? Send Paul the link, says Mr. Self-Destruct. Yeah, I should do that.
He's in the chat, actually. Rocket.
Is he really?
Yeah, hell.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I see. I'm trying to scroll down the chat here.
Oh,
Chuck Reardon says, evening all. Let me get down here.
Evening.
Paul says, I've been called adorable before. But it was like grade 5. Yes, Paul. Do you want that chat or that link? I'll send it to you unless you're working on something. Just let me know. What's this freedom of speech you speak of? I'm Canadian, says Frederick. Well, good. Now that we've got 2 of you guys in here. Good. You know, I was disappointed that Paul, his head isn't separated into 2 separate spheres that would like talk like on South Park. I was a little disappointed by that, to see that Canadian people are like regular people. So, all right, hold on a second here.
Yeah, we'll give Paul some support, you know, because last time everyone was against him, you know, now he has some friends here to support his views, you know, like-minded.
He might be more like he might be a cool Canadian like Jordan Peterson, like bloody gosh.
Oh yeah, he is. Bloody gosh. Mr. Perfect says, PQ, one of the first movies ever made is about the moon, A Trip to the Moon, 1902. Huh. Huh. Weird stuff. Let me play this video. I need to turn my air conditioning up higher. Johnny, in America, we have this thing called air conditioning where we can not be hot during the hot months. It's pretty actually fascinating. Right. If you guys hadn't kicked us out, we would have given it to you. But, you know, here we are now. Let me start this video and then I'll bring Paul in.
Palm leaves.
That's right.
Palm leaves. Hold on. I'm going to turn my air conditioning up. Hold on, folks.
What if many American buildings weren't built, but discovered? What if they were already here, long before America even existed? Believers in the Tartaria conspiracy theory think that these buildings are the key to a lost past. Or maybe lost isn't the right word. They don't think it was lost, they think it was deliberately covered up by a vast global conspiracy involving all of the world's governments and historians. Tartaria is still a relatively new and relatively small conspiracy. Most people still have no idea what Tartaria even is. It's nowhere near as popular as something like Flat Earth. Most Tartaria-related content is here on YouTube or on Reddit, where there are now multiple subreddits dedicated to this supposedly lost empire. It's not a super strict conspiracy with a specific narrative. It's not an idea with leaders or organization. It's kind of more like a conspiracy cafeteria, where people on the internet can come in and pick and choose what they want. The basic premise is that there is an alternate history from the one most people know. There was once a vast, very technologically advanced Tartarian empire that came from North-Central Asia. They created and influenced cities and infrastructure all over the world. So what happened? Why aren't we all living in Tartaria today? Well, unfortunately for the Tartarians, their entire empire was destroyed in a massive mud flood.
Oh, a mud flood. How terrible is that?
Well, let's start off with a reaction to what he said about America. America, the buildings of America not being built after we settled here. Nonsense. Because New York City, for example, the skyscrapers of New York City, we have documented accounts of the progress made on those buildings. And many people have actually witnessed skyscrapers being built up. So America, yeah, you can fuck off with that idea.
Well, it's not all the buildings. You know, it's some of them. Some of the old ones, like the old buildings, is the main thing. Usually, they get rid of like a lot of the ones that were here. You know, there'll be a vast fire, like the fire of Chicago, or fire of San Francisco, the earthquakes. That's what they use to get rid of the old buildings, so then they can rebuild new ones. So nobody's the wiser.
Well, that's a fair point, but American history is actually one of my fortes. And if you look at starting from the American Revolution, we've done a very good job of documenting the progress of everything built. Yeah, the Greco-Roman buildings, the colonial style houses and structures, like that's all. We have primary sources for that. So America, we're good, we're covered. But, you know, Tartaria 1,000 years ago, that's a different story.
Other people in the chat have been mentioning, I've been hearing some videos say Tartaria was the millennial reign. The millennial reign is also a terribly fascinating conspiracy theory. But let's continue with the video.
This massive landslide that somehow appeared.
Yeah.
Did you send Paul the link?
I did.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul's actually kind of an expert. Well, he's certainly more of an expert than I am on Tartaria, so it'd be cool if he was able to pop on. I think I wanted to have him on Saturday too, but we really got into the whole detracting Matt Barr thing. So, and by the way, I'm gonna get back to this video real quick, but folks, does it not prove our point when he starts supporting Eric July? Like, it'd be one thing to be like, fuck you all, I'm done with Comicsgate. But then when you start turning to Eric July as like, you know what I mean? Like, we all heard what you fucking said right before you got pissed at
Well,
Comicsgate.
he's blatantly said on streams that he wants to watch Comicsgate burn to the ground, so it's blatantly obvious what side he's on anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to dox Johnny too.
Yeah. That'd
Now
work
he's
out well
trying
for him.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
He's gonna try doxing all of us.
So far, he's doxed
Go
like
ahead, John.
2 random people trying to get to me, and he hasn't even done it successfully yet. I thought he genuinely had something, but he's just clutching at straws, and he looks like a dickhead. Who goes around doxing people?
Yeah.
Silly.
It's not going to work out for him too. Like, there's people on this chat. It'd be ill advised to dox certain people on here. That's that's all I
Well,
can
if you
say.
want to sell comic books, like you, Pat, if you're trying to sell your comic book, if you were known to go around trying to dox people, no one would want to buy your comic book.
Exactly.
Because you'd have all their information.
Yeah. What's that? You disagree with me? All right, I'm gonna tell everybody where you live, asshole. It's like, okay. But let's stop. We can talk about that later. But let's.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it is a subject that kind of snowballs, and it is something that people like to hear and talk about. But we got some people in here for conspiracies. The Squid says this theory is mostly BS. Cahokia Mountains kind of disproves the America portion of Tartaria. The desert settlements out west also disprove that. Omni says thoughts on the Templar Knights. Omni, that is a subject for an entirely dedicated stream to that itself. The Templar Knights, the amount of information that goes into that subject and then comes from that subject is it's staggering. We could go on. It's like if you were to say, what do you think about the Nephilim? Like another subject that would take, I mean, one 3-hour session wouldn't be enough to cover that subject. Frederick Gumont says EJ's a psyop. Nicholas says Matt Barr, the bitch king's tits. The bitch king's tits. Oh, that's pretty good, Johnny. You might have to rip that off. The Squid says most government buildings were based on Masonic architecture, which is based out of Europe when the Masons were a stonemasons union. Whew, the Masons. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's good.
Smells like old school war campaign. They were really addicted to fake doxes for a while. Oh, hello, Wilberforce Wooster. Nice to see you, man. Thanks for watching. A lot of Baphomet worshippers at the higher levels of the Templar Knights. You guys can't get me. We're talking about Tartaria right now. You can't get me started on that kind of stuff.
That's another week.
All the same.
When Carbon says that he's like kind of a master of American history, I'm kind of a master of religious history. So don't get me started on that shit. Because Johnny knows whenever I'm on his stream, somebody says one thing about religion and I fucking go off for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like they put 10p in him and he just goes off like a little mechanical conspiracy theory. You need to get your tinfoil hats out.
Exactly. I'm riffing off Mail and Misters. It refers to a certain. Okay. Tartaria is also known for its giant doors. Yeah. Why would you need giant doors unless you had. Let's watch the video.
Wiped them all out somewhere between 100 and 200 years ago, burying them under the earth. Only the tallest of their buildings were able to survive. The history of Tartaria was erased. After this great reset, the powers that be, whoever they are, decided to lie and claim that the buildings that were still around were built by them. Unwilling to admit that they were left over from Tartaria for whatever reason, people claimed that they themselves had built them. Modern-day Tartaria believers, of course, have seen through this lie, since no 19th century American could really have created these sorts of buildings. No, it must have secretly been a Tartarian architect. Opinions on when these buildings were really built differ.
Now, hold on. That doesn't look like these buildings maybe, but this right here looks like old Indian architecture from 2000 BC. 2000, 3000 BC. Am I off base there? It doesn't look anything like the other Tartaria stuff.
Pillars.
Well, yeah, they've got this the Indian architecture from back then is like superbly complicated. It's simple in its basic form, but the ornamentation on it is crazy detailed. Yeah.
Not to be. Well, actually, it's good to be a skeptic because actually that's the core of what we're doing here. We're all skeptics of the information showed to us. This particular video, I'm seeing some images that look doctored.
Yeah.
That appear to be ancient. So I advise taking it with a grain of salt. Because if you look at the front over here, at the bottom front, that little structure there, that looks like modern bricks.
Yeah.
This looks like a hybrid image.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. I got to be honest. The Tartaria stuff isn't very convincing. Oh, look who we have, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Ravoche. What's up, Paul? How you doing, man?
Good, Patrick. How's everybody?
We are good.
How you doing, Paul?
How you doing, Paul?
Hello, everybody. My ears were burning. I clicked on the notification, like that you were streaming, Patrick, and then I heard my name being mentioned. I saw myself being called adorable.
Well, you see, we all were very I mean, I don't know, but I can't speak for everybody else, but I was very happy about the things that were brought up on Comicsgate Kings, and while on the one hand I felt a bit of, I've described this to you before, a little bit of pleasure when you say something to somebody and they lose their minds over like considering an idea. But at the same time, it was a little like, man, some of those guys were like really fucking harsh. Like, and I know you can't really, you maybe not want to speak on it, but the whole Graham Nolan saying my brain was getting smaller listening to this. And I just wanted to scream at the screen, like, your brain is getting smaller because you won't open it up.
Yeah, I might have missed that because, you're kind of in the moment. Like, I wasn't anticipating that we would talk about that, but, and I will be careful here in what I say, because there's no point, like the last thing we want is more controversy. I mean, the point is free speech. Yeah, well, we do want it for clicks. Once you learn the way this game goes, people want it for clicks. But there's like the two tides, right? There's the more clicks and all this maelstrom of all the stuff. But then there's also the problems that ensue. I don't want problems. But having said that, when put on the spot inadvertently or maybe purposely, because it makes good entertainment, I just figure you should be honest, right? Like, that's the whole point of the last number of years. It's the point of why there are a lot of people who are so-called conspiracy people, but who are now not scared. Like I just tweeted, even people like Candace Owens, who may or may not be so-called controlled opposition, but regardless of that, whatever the real story is, she's out there now talking about moon landings and going really hard on these topics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to see, because at least you're not alone, So when I was in that spot there, I'm like, well, this is what I believe. And after a while, you just don't care. I didn't hear Graham make that comment, but regardless, like, I understand the mentality of it, because it's the whole thing is like, when you progress, I'm sure you guys would all relate, when you progress into believing some of these things and accepting them as reality, the so-called conspiracy things, you have progressed from where you were before. Now, of course, people who don't agree and stay in the other mentality, they're going to say, oh, you've gone nuts. And you lost your mind and you're in this weird, irrational person. But of course, the problem is, if they know you before, like some of these guys know me before, and in my real life, people know me. I'm not some like wacko lunatic, like walking around. I'm just somebody, like I said on the stream with the Kings, I just got fed up by being scammed. I got scammed in my life. I've been scammed by people. I've been scammed in business. And now I feel like I've been scammed after the last 5 years with the ridiculous things that I see otherwise normal people around me. Like I said on that stream, the whole eye-opening thing about the so-called stupid lockdowns, that so many otherwise rational people agreed with all this stuff. It just was so revealing. It was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, that was a big turning point for me too.
Sorry, Carbon?
Yeah, I mean, that was the turning point for a lot of people, myself included. Last few years, we had the time to investigate and realize that we're being lied to. And in all honesty, the King's panel, though, obviously everyone on the panel is around age 50 or higher.
Exactly.
You're less likely to encounter somebody who's going to change their mind about something in general
know.
at
It's
that
true.
point. And yeah, because you grow up your whole life. I mean, we're talking about being even an adult, 30 years. You know, you're believing something, you're being told something. And like I said, Graham's a very patriotic guy. You know, and I know guys who are very conservative too, who are older, who will be like, yeah, all of this stuff against like the U.S. government, they resist it very strongly, even though they're very intelligent and they're very intelligent. But no, I commend the fact that you were able to open your eyes, you know, in the last 5 years, or be open minded. I mean,
I think
towards these things.
Were you gonna say something, General?
Yeah, I
General
think
Scab.
with conspiracy theories, a lot of people choose not to believe it. Like you tell it to them, and it's so on the ball and on point that it scares them. And they don't want to believe it, and they'll
No, I
battle
know.
themselves in their head to say, "No, he's just mental. Just ignore it." That's all it is.
Yeah. And you know, Carbon, thanks. Sorry, Patrick. Carbon, thanks for saying that. And yeah, you know, afterwards, somebody messaged me on X and they said, that was really great, but you went too hard. You were delivering too much at once. And then I thought it over and I thought, you know, I answered to them. I said, yeah, that's probably true because like they weren't being mean to me. They were just saying like, you know, what it triggered in me was reflecting that if you go down these things and your reality changes, kind of like what you were saying earlier, Patrick, you kind of tend to forget because you go through those stages. Like, and then I thought back, I was in the earlier stages a couple of years ago where I was really angry and really like confused and just, you go through I mean, I don't want to over emo it, but it's like you do go through a lot of tough stuff because you realize, wait, like I have to change all these other ideas I've got in my head. And it's really quite a challenge to do that because it's not only time consuming, it's also like cognitive dissonance. It's very emotionally and intellectually like challenging to just go, wait, okay, so they're not telling me the truth about like the moon, then that means that, well, what about space? What about space stations? What about NASA? What about the government? Like who's doing this? How could it work? Like some of the guys were saying to me. And you see that there's this entire shell that's been put around you that has all these like subjects, and each one of them has like a barrier with all the sort of typical questions that's been implanted in you. And it's fascinating when you realize you've been somehow entrapped in this kind of shell of these false ideas. And there's even the barriers to escaping, and they use emotions. They attach emotions to things. So once you realize that mechanism, that you've been trained to be emotionally triggered by something that you don't want to hear. Like for me, I reflected a few years ago, I was like, yeah, I do get kind of pissed off at people on Facebook when they post something I don't agree with. I should just calm that down. And I wouldn't say I'm perfect, but I'm a lot better. And I'm working hard on that, is because I realized that's one of the mental implants. You know, like, I mean, they even showed you in The Matrix, like the movie, they I don't know if this is the exact metaphor or analogy, but you know, you had to have these implants removed from them physically as a visual device, like Neo. And it's like, it's kind of like mentally we've been trained, you know, in school, don't question authority, don't think for yourself. And it's very, very hard for people to realize you actually don't know where to start to think, and that you're hopelessly confused, and that a lot of stuff were told might be lies. Like that's really psychologically disturbing. I didn't really even mean to do that. I was just trying to stay what they call in my truth when I was being challenged, and I guess you react. And I was trying to be friendly, but not, you know, not be like hateful, but just be like, okay, this is what I believe. Like I'm the Eddie Bravo of, like, you know, I don't know if EVS is Alex Jones, but you know with Alex Jones and Eddie Bravo and Joe Rogan.
I think you're more of the Alex Jones and he's more of the, well, I don't even have a good allegory, but not
Well,
this
it's kind of like
I guess.
the panels that they have on Fox News, where, you know, they bring in, like, so it'd be a panel of like 5 people, and they bring in one person with the opposing views. You know, they call it controlled opposition.
Yes,
you know?
for sure.
So,
I've
like,
seen that.
so it's kind of like that, where it's, and then they ask that, oh, so what do you think about this? and then everybody disagrees with that one person.
Yeah, you get purposely ambushed, but it does make
Yeah.
for good entertainment. So I kind of have to do
Yes.
that. It's like,
It
you know,
does, Paul. Let's be honest. Like it was, the conversation was kind of drying up. It was kind of getting a little boring. And then obviously EVS baited you, which he knows he's doing, but he's an entertainer. He knows that. And it's good this time that he didn't play the music behind you. Because that's like an added, you're already at a disadvantage with 8 other people not agreeing with you. You know what I mean? So yeah. But the whole psychological thing about it, I would agree with you guys. Like, and there's actually a psychological studies that have been done to show this, that once people reach a certain age, I think it's 35 or so, they're kind of like most people anyway. This, obviously everybody's different, but the most people on average are kind of just, they're done. They're set. What they believe now is what they will believe for the rest of their life, and they just don't care. And I talk to people at work, people at work are a good example of people who I've been able to convince otherwise, because I worked with them now for 5 years, which means I started working with them before COVID happened. So when COVID was happening, I would say, oh, this, and this, and this. And they would go, okay, it's fucking Patrick saying his crazy shit again, and then lo and behold, 2-3 years later, they're like, wow, dude, like you were right about all that stuff. And I was like, I'm like, so yeah, when are you going to get on the aliens and giants train? And they're like, too far for me. And I'm like, don't worry, we'll get there. We're moving.
Yeah.
But there are some people, like the sad ones are like my family, for instance. Like my family's all very Orthodox Catholic. And so they believe pretty much the Catholic Church completely. Now, I would still consider myself Catholic. I think that, there's things that have happened that are, anyway, long story short, they're not gonna question anything about the Catholic Church or its hierarchy.
Yeah.
And also they're not, like the older people in my family, particularly my dad, who is a lawyer, is not going to question, whether or not the United States is still a, ruled by law.
Maritime law.
That it's he really, like, he's a big fan of the law, and he's a big fan of the way things have always worked and have always been described and explained. And so that's kind of what he's going to stick with.
Can I just interject? I totally get that, Patrick, because my family, God bless them, they're very much, they're not Catholic, and not particularly religious, but they're more government type people. So I grew up with that in Ottawa, in Canada, which is the seat of the federal government. And both my parents, my father's passed away, but my mother's still alive. But they were in their working careers, they both worked for the government. So and in fact, my dad was an environmental engineer in what was one of the big federal ministries called Environment Canada, which was early. Like I was the teenager in the 70s. I was hearing all about like the early ideas about global warming. He was talking about the Club of Rome and how we need globalism and all that. I mean, I could do a whole show about it. And now, as I've learned more about it, like I have a completely different take on it, some of which I wouldn't say publicly, but not because it's so bad, but just you have to be careful. The point is, like I grew up as the black sheep, in a sense, the complete opposite, which I think probably is what you'd say, right? Like I didn't disavow everything, but I listened to it carefully. And as the older I got, I was like, one world government, because the planet's supposedly dying and we need to control pollution. Like my dad, for example, would always be talking about cars and pollution. And we used to, as I got into being an argumentative teenager, we got into these whole things, like not super angry, but just very, I was just not going to back down, because if you get the hook in your cheek, like a fish, but for the truth, maybe God puts it there. If you don't believe in God, then you just choose who puts it there. But if you have the taste for that, then you just can't let it go. Like if you go to yourself, there is some reality, bigger reality, that I'll find out someday when we leave this realm. And it's the truth. How can it be endless, infinite truths or your truth? There's just there's some objective thing behind this world. And if you have the taste for that, which I did, and I can see in fellow people, even if we're from different backgrounds, and that relates also the thirst for freedom, which with the Kings and Comicsgate, I think that's a uniting thing. Like, we're all from very different backgrounds and even ages, but you do unite under one banner, which is the thing I would stick to. Like, I guess I'm rambling around here, but personally, I don't care if they don't agree with me about moon landings or stuff. Like, I tried to say, you guys, I didn't rewatch it, but hopefully I got this in. I would have said, you know, and I hope I did. I said, like, I'm not trying to convince you or sell anything here. I'm just saying what I believe in. Like, if you don't agree, I'm not triggered. I don't care, because I'm past, like, back then I was angry a few years ago being lied to. But if someone comes back at me and says, you know, like some people in the chat were saying on that stream, saying like, this guy's an idiot, he's crazy. Like, now I don't care. Okay. Like, you know, fine. I've heard it all. Everyone who opposes the typical thing has heard it all before. I mean, as a kid who liked comics,
Paul,
yeah.
I thought you were taking a pause there. Earlier,
Yeah, no,
you mentioned the ministry.
Well, real quick, I'm sorry. Before you say what you're going to say, Carbon, I guess Johnny left. Thanks for coming on, Johnny.
I'll get the mess hall straight.
I guess I can't. Yeah, I guess he's got to clean the mess hall up, get the boys to start. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Carbon. Thanks for Johnny for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. No, it's just I thought you were pausing there, Paul. You mentioned the ministry of, what was that in Canada? The environment, or?
Well, they changed the name, but it's one of the Canadian federal ministries. So back then, I think in the 70s, at some point they changed it. It's on Wikipedia. It was called Environment Canada.
Oh, okay.
It might now be called the Ministry of the Environment. I'm not sure.
That reminded me of a particular clip. I don't know if you guys have you heard of Javier Milei?
Yeah, the Argentinian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I show this clip very briefly? It's like a 30-second clip.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just share my screen. So this is when.
Hold on, I'm trying to. Where is that? Okay.
Javier Milei. I'm about to share it.
Wait, oh, okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Johnny. Okay, I'm gonna kick that Johnny from the studio and add this one in. Johnny's back. He didn't actually abandon us.
Oh, okay.
Carbon, can you reshare that, Carbon, please? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I just did it now. Yeah. So Javier Milei, backstory: he was elected as the president of Argentina roughly a year ago, or maybe 6 months ago, and he's very conservative, and it was a big upset because they compared him to Trump. This was taken right after he became president, and this is his reaction to the ministries within the government.
Ministerio de Turismo y Deporte, afuera. Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible, afuera. Ministerio de las Mujeres y Género y Diversidad, afuera. Ministerio de Obras Públicas, afuera. Porque te resistas. Vamos a seguir por acá.
Afuera.
Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología e Innovación. Algo bien del sector privado. Nada bueno salió del sector público. ¡Afuera! Ministerio de Trabajo, Empleo y Seguridad Social. ¡Afuera! Ministerio de Educación. Adoctrinamiento. ¡Afuera! Ministerio de Transporte. ¡Afuera! Ministerio de Salud. ¡Afuera! Ministerio de Desarrollo Social. ¡Afuera! ¿Cómo queda el Estado? Ministerio de Capital Humano, Ministerio de Infraestructura, Ministerio de Economía, Ministerio de Justicia, Ministerio de Seguridad, Ministerio de Defensa, Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores y Ministerio del Interior. Se acabó el curro de la política. ¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Nice.
Oh, that's fun.
Nice.
There you go.
I think Javier Milei is a plant.
Me too.
I gotta be honest.
Thank you.
What?
I don't like him.
Yeah.
No, I believe.
Yeah, and the reason why, Carbon. Let me explain. The reason why I can't really explain, but I'm gonna, there is a certain subject that we will not talk about on this channel, that can actually get you destroyed talking about it. And
yeah, we know what it is.
He's on the wrong side of that subject, in my opinion. And that's why I don't trust him. It's the same reason I don't trust Trump. So, maybe one day when freedom of speech is actually like fully allowed, we'll talk about it. And viewers at home can, if you're intelligent, you can put 2 and 2 together and figure out what we're talking about. But there is, I want to like him a lot, and just as much as I want to like Trump, actually. But
yeah,
like if you research that subject, and the more you research it, the more you're like, I don't know what necessarily is true, but this is
He
all
might
very
be.
fishy, and I don't.
I'm not going to say it. Don't worry, I'm not going to say it. He might be related to a particular faction.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right.
That's
yeah.
But
and what it is more like if they weren't silencing people and saying stop fucking talking about this, and then labeling them, then I wouldn't feel that way. But when you tell me I have to shut up about a subject and I can't talk about it, that's when I start to like not trust you. And that's when I start to be like, maybe I should actually look into this subject more. And I don't dislike or hate any person in the world, except for people who are avowed Marxists. So,
well, let me just say this.
With anything, yeah.
Let me just say this. I've watched a lot of interviews of him within the last year. And he has responded to some questions about, conservative views. I was very impressed with how calmly, because obviously he seems like a joke in those videos, but he was able to eloquently defend a lot of conservative stances, like in particular about abortion. There's a video. At some point look it up, everybody. He talks about abortion, and a woman asks him actually, "Why are you against it?" And he very eloquently defended it, and I was very impressed. So all I'm saying is, what he says in defense of his stances, they sound genuine.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm more in Patrick's camp just for a simple reason. You could call it structural, which is depends on how you look at the big architecture of what's going on. So by that I simply mean, if you think that there's only a faction of the government that's corrupt, like the deep state, but then there's this other thing that some portion of like good guys, that's one overall conception of what's going on. On the other hand, if you retreat further back and you believe, and this is the camp I'd be in, that the entire thing is corrupt, and it's a system that uses left and right, good and bad, white hats, to keep you circling around in that system, then you get suspicious. Like I have no proof, more than anyone else does, of this Javier Milei guy being like some kind of controlled opposition, or a so-called right-wing guy saying that, saying what people want to hear. But that's my strong suspicion, is that he's like all these people. Like, who is that woman in Italy, Giorgia Meloni, that got elected on the right? She's going to be like the conservative savior, and she's going to come in Italy. It was like a year or two ago, whenever it was. And then when she got in, everyone was disappointed because she didn't actually do all the things she had promised.
But here's the thing.
Like Reagan, they blame. Sorry.
Let me respond to that though. But think about it for a second.
Sure.
We're saying that Giorgia Meloni and Javier Milei, these are two great examples. In a sense, we're getting what we're asking for. Those people on the surface appear to be something that we want, right?
Yes.
So, but if every time somebody comes to the forefront like that, we're going to doubt them and say, "Oh, they didn't do what we wanted," then what exactly is going to be enough? Maybe we need to be a little more open and say, okay, least they got.
Can I interject real quick?
At least they got elected.
I agree. Like, you're right. We are getting what we asked for. And that kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier in the stream, and everything revolves around consciousness and about what people want and what they strive for. When you want something, you will get it. And when most people want something, they will get it. So when we talk about COVID, and everybody being locked down and all of these people doing what they were told and yada, yada, yada. The reason that happened is because most of those people wanted that. They wanted to be told what to do. They wanted to be controlled. They wanted a quick, easy fix to a problem that they thought was, well, I mean, maybe they were lied, obviously they were lied to and thought the problem was bigger than it was, but they wanted a quick, easy fix to this horrible mortality-inducing problem, and they were given it. Like, it's like that scene in Avengers. This is one of the most brilliant scenes in all of cinema, if you ask me. It's when they're in Germany and Loki is, he fights. Well, he hasn't fought Captain America yet, but he's about to fight him, and he like slams his staff on the ground and he says, "Kneel," and all of the people kneel down. They all kneel, and he says, "See, isn't this what you want? Isn't this what you crave? You crave to be slaves. You want to be slaves. You want a master." And I think, to be honest with you, that every, like the vast majority of human people do actually want a master, which isn't necessarily wrong, because there is a master, but you have to be looking at the right master. And so,
yeah,
this is the way I look at it. And not everybody here is necessarily Christian, but so I'm not trying to call anybody out. Johnny, but
how's that a reaction to what I just said? How is that a retort to what I just said?
Yeah. I'll have you know that I'm
well,
an
it was more like
minister, Pat. I'm quite religious.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Johnny and Ben are actually ministers.
It's true. It's true. If I could interject, how you're saying everyone wants a master. Reportedly, that is what Neil Gaiman wanted his sexual partners to call him during their escapades.
Oh my God, we're not doing this tonight, Dr.
We
Ben.
have to do it. Are you pussy about like?
We might as well
talk about conspiracies.
It's not a conspiracy. He admitted that he did all that shit to the girl.
I'll be honest, Carbon. I wasn't retorting to you. I was interjecting with an opinion of my own that was somewhere between what you and Paul were talking about. I'll be honest. That's my fault. I'm sorry. And I also kind of wanted to dunk on Johnny real quick there, which I did successfully.
So we can dunk on Neil Gaiman. He's a better target than dunking on the King of England.
Here, Dr. Ben. How about this? I promise you this, Dr. Ben. We're gonna finish out the video after Carbon finishes his point, and then we'll talk about Neil Gaiman. Is that okay?
It's gay man.
I know you're ready and raring
Neil
to go.
Gaiman, not Gaiman.
All right.
Neil Gaiman.
I know you want to talk about him.
Right.
But we promised the folks we'd talk about Tartaria, and we've got Paul here. Paul is, apparently he's going to be like the new CG king.
I'm not an expert on it.
Well, look, Neil Gaiman is something to talk about. That's hot news, and it's very relevant to the kind of stuff we talk about. But anyway,
okay, so then this is what we're going to do.
What I was.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because you said you wanted me to cap off what I was saying.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, no. The whole point I'm making is that look, there are to give an analogy, right? There are Republicans, as you know, that are they're called never Trumpers. They don't like Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But regardless of that, within the last 7 years, 7 years now, Trump's the only option for them, right? And here's the thing. I know of many Republicans who Trump got elected and they voted for him, right? Then they go, after his term was done, oh, well, there were things he didn't do that I wanted him to do. Okay, fair enough. But there were things that he did do that you wanted him to do as well, right? And so that's my point with the analogy. If you're seeing around the world, at least there are movements happening where you're seeing, it happened in Germany. It's happening in Germany now. It happened in France, where there's starting to be votes in which, okay, there's a little bit of a defense against liberalism because they're starting to see it's resulting in their countries being destroyed. That's why Meloni in Italy got elected, because Italy is being invaded, as well as a lot of Europe is being invaded by migrants and these policies that are leading to destruction. And so when you see this happen, I'm just saying we have to at least count that victory, even though they're not perfect. Meloni's not perfect. Malaya's obviously not perfect. And that's all I'm saying. Like, at least we're making progress.
Okay, but can I just counter? Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're Carbon. I mean, in a friendly way. You're just a person. It sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're in Camp A of what I try to describe Camp A and Camp B. So Camp A believes that voting is still more or less real. and there may be a way to correct it from within the system. Can't be as
Well,
like
yes,
whole thing
and I think
controlled. Sorry?
we have to believe that. Yes, I
Well,
do
I don't
believe that.
I don't
Well,
believe that.
our votes.
Make me I'll
Wait,
black
wait,
pill.
real quick. No, real quick, Paul. Hold on a second, Carbon. Why do you say we have to believe it?
Yeah.
That our votes still count.
Yeah.
Because, or at the very least, we have to have hope that our votes can count, because that's one of the only ways that we can exercise our freedom. If we lose hope in that our vote means anything, then that means that we're giving up. So
No.
yes, I choose to believe.
Paul, can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Paul, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Carbon, that was what I was trying to say when I kind of, again, went onto a tangent. What I was trying to say was, when I say people get what they want, people don't want the true religion of the universe, which is, in my opinion, Jesus Christ. And so what they do is they find anything or anything else, everything or anything else that will solve their problem without putting all of the faith and all of the mental, I don't even know what the word is, to put everything into that. Like, so really what we have here is, in my estimation, a situation where you're either your God is the state or Jesus Christ. And so if it's Jesus Christ, then that means you can't look at the state as like something that you can use to get justice, because it's never going to be that way. So I think, I don't know if I don't want to speak for Paul, but that's how I feel, that we're in a situation right now where there is the truth, Jesus Christ, and the religion surrounding that, versus everything else, which is represented by the state.
I see
Go
your
ahead,
point.
Carbon. Go ahead, Carbon.
Go ahead,
Paul,
Paul.
I'll let you talk right after Carbon.
Okay, sure.
No, Paul has a statement. He was
Yeah,
gonna say.
I'll let you talk after
No,
Carbon.
either way.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
Like, my take is, okay, I know it can seem very black pill, and it's, again, these things you go through. But if you were a super intelligent entity, that hated as it says in the Bible, that hates the world, hates God's finest creation, mankind, or beloved creation, and you were going to be the supervillain of the drama, would you make an obvious setup where you can spot the villains, or would you make a multi-layered carnival that has rings and rings of deception in it? So that's what I think is that's what I think is going on.
I'm not laughing at you. That's quite a dramatic story that you spun there.
Well, I didn't finish it. Go ahead.
No, but think about it though. I mean, you're saying that essentially we could be living in a world in which our enemies, in the sense of achieving justice, are, by design, some elusive thing that's out of our reach. And it's funny that you said black pill, because you read my mind. I was actually about to say that, because I was going to say that approach is pretty black pill.
No, I mean,
what I'm trying.
I understand. Like, I know it, Carbon. I know it appears that way, but when you're on the other side of it, it's not. That's just like a trained reflex. Like, wasn't it, Patrick? You were mentioning Masons. Wasn't it Albert Pike who said, when they need a hero, we will deliver them one? Like, the whole thing is that we're in this pageant of heroes and villains, and you're trained to believe in all these mythologies that one rises, the other falls, and then the hero will come and rescue us. It'll be Reagan when I was younger. It'll be Trump. And it's all a carnival to keep you within this circular, like, puppet show, believing and never looking up and seeing, wait, like Patrick said, there's only one king. There's only one ruler of the universe. There will be justice eventually, cosmic justice. At some point, I don't know, but the Bible talks about all of this. The Bible talks about how Satan is the ruler of the world. Doesn't he say that? Isn't it said in one of the chapters? Or
I have my response. I have my response to that, Paul.
Please.
And I do love that you're saying that, because I agree, and I believe in the same thing, which is the divine and God, and I'm a Christian as well. So I agree with you on that, except with the approach towards operating in the world, because I feel, and it's funny because my brother is actually extremely religious, and he and I have discussions about this, and he is more on with your camp, your approach, right?
Yeah.
But with me, I feel like I believe that humans, because of the free will that God gave us, and the abilities we have, that we always have to strive towards doing the best to change the world.
Yeah,
That's
no, I agree.
that's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't
And
think
I
we should
believe
give up. I'm not saying to
I
give up.
think
Not at all.
I think we have the power. I believe we have the power, as bleak as it can be. Because look, in the past, it's been really bleaker than it is now. And in the past, there's been some dark times, and yet we got to this point. We've gotten to this point. So absolutely, we can get through this. You know?
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
This is kind of what I was saying earlier, and this is the reason why I think that. And Paul understands it once you get on the other side. People look at you and they think that you're depressed about everything and that everything's hopeless and all that. One, you can't, like, first of all, it wouldn't make logical sense to be depressed because you're going to win, because the God of the universe is more powerful than everything else. And in the end, he's going to just fucking wipe out all of his enemies, one way or another anyway. So like, who's going to win? The good guys are going to win in the end. Now, the question is, but are we going to allow all this suffering right now while we're here? Are we going to allow all this evil? And that's what I was saying before, where we can't have this defeatist mentality where we say, oh, men will always be evil, or, there'll always be evil on the world. There will always be with that attitude. But I think what Paul and I don't want to speak for Paul, but what I think he and I are trying to say is that that the bad guys rule the world right now. But if more of us know about it, if enough people know about it, we can do something to change this. And it is actually, I think, our responsibility, with bodies and minds that know. With great power comes great responsibility. If you have knowledge of something and you're able to stop it in any way or able to do something about it, it's your responsibility. And so that's kind of the way, that's at least the way I look at it. This whole like, well, there'll always be sin on the world. That's like what I would consider like I call these things slave responses. It's the response of a slave. A slave will say, well, there's nothing we can do. I hear this all the time at work when I talk to people about these subjects. They're like, but I mean, like, what can you do about it? What a slave response. Like, you can talk to, now naturally there's not a lot I can do right now because, like to be clear, on the internet, to the ATF, the FBI, and the CIA, I'm not attempting an overthrowing of the federal government. Okay. As much as I would like to, I don't have the resources and I would get killed instantly. So, okay, there you go, guys. But like, so we can't do that. But what we can do is we can change hearts and minds by providing information and questioning authority and questioning the status quo of what is believed and what is not believed, and trying to just get people to think differently about the subject so that we can move into a better, more holy world.
We're all on the same side. Very briefly, Paul.
Yeah.
I think you, Paul, myself, and Patrick, we're on the same side on this, but maybe just approaching it a little bit. I'm more aggressive, I guess, because I feel like I want to take action and do as much as I can.
My thing is like, okay, you can only you have to pick your battles, because it depends on your conception. Because if you think that, for example, voting makes a difference, and you only have so much energy every day, like it's not being depressed and negative. I mean, I agree with everything you said there, Patrick. It's really just that depending on your conception of the bigger structure and how it all works, will dictate how you see yourself fitting in within it. So then you may come to a conclusion like I did, and here I wouldn't speak for you, Patrick, but I know that recently, I'd say like 5-10 years of my life, I go, that's really how it is. It's very hard to admit, but then what's the best rational response? The best rational response is to admit I'm a small fish in a small pond, and within that pond, I'll do my very best to align to higher principles, like you said, God, Jesus Christ, doing the right thing. Sounds pretentious, but you just still you don't talk about it a lot, except maybe on a stream like this, where other people might commiserate and get some sustenance from hearing that they're not alone. But generally you just go, okay, I got my little life. this whole thing about being invested on the internet and Twitter and in politics and thinking that that's gonna really change things eventually is just leading you down a fool's path, with no offense meant. Because when you see that the higher up you go in this pyramid of politics, the more controlled and corrupted there are. There may be a sincere local person or counselor or someone who works in the counselor's office who's like naive and young and very sincerely going around door knocking and stuff. Like, I'm not dissing any of those people, but I just don't think that in the end they see that the higher you get with this, the more corrupt these people are. And there's been so many outings of these things factually, even in the controlled mainstream press, because they do dribble out enough to give the illusion of it's again controlled opposition or limited hangout. There, even in the mainstream press, they sacrifice some of their own and show you that, oh, look, we're fair, there's justice. They allow some people to be caught and put on trial.
Right. Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly. And just enough to keep people, again, circling around within the normal reality. But it's when you break out much further from that and go sort of, in a sense, higher, if you will, that you kind of get just a completely different viewpoint. And you would think, before you pop through it, you would think that it's going to be really negative and gloomy, like we were touching on. But actually, it's just the biggest relief, like I've said on other streams. I used to be so concerned, like I see so many people, their emotions are invested in the internet, in arguing, in about their political things. And if you don't like Trump, you're a bad guy. Or if you don't like Biden, or all of these, and they're all clowns. I mean, Trump is a very entertaining and skilled clown. I'll give him that. It's like, no problem. But I don't believe he's going to save me. He's not my savior. There's no way.
Well, I agree with everything you just said, because, that is the reality of it. I mean, day-to-day life, there are people tuning in a little too much and thinking that they're going to become a freedom fighter, and they're not. And they're just kind of getting themselves worked up. So I agree with that. But, Dr. Ben, I want to ask you, Dr. Ben, what do you think about this? I haven't heard anything from you.
Yeah, I'm curious.
About what exactly? What do you ask?
Everything. I mean, have you been tuned out the whole time? What do you think about the whole thing?
He's been looking at pictures of Swiss cheese. I know the feeling.
I was
distracting.
looking up a scripture. I got it down below. I just pulled out a scripture that.
And EVS said unto him, "All these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me."
Yeah. So the devil is.
You sounded
real.
like Matt Barr there when you say that.
Yeah, no, the devil is definitely real. I mean, he has a purpose. He has his MO, if you would. He's where did that, like, we got that cliche saying, the devil's most the biggest trick he pulled was convincing people that he didn't exist.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the devil is real and affects things. And I mean, ultimately, if Trump wins the election, or if Kamala wins the election, or Hunter, or whoever they run, I'm saying, like, is it really going to make a big difference in, like, the grand picture of things? Not really, but, like, I want to be able to, like, look back on my life and be able to say, I wasn't with, I wasn't with locking up, people that didn't like masks, for example. Like, people that are like, we don't want people in masks. Johnny Scab, masks gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Like, people that are against masks, gotta lock them up. Like that. I don't want to be on the side that's locking people up for just, minor things. You know what I mean? And for that. So even if it doesn't make a difference, you know what I'm saying? The whole matter to me is just that you made you stood your ground.
So you're just waiting until the apocalypse. You're just waiting until Armageddon comes.
Sorry, who? Me?
He's talking about Dr. Ben.
No, Ben.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I try to cover topical events with my comics and my narratives and whatnot. Try to bring awareness to different issues and items. I'm limited what I can do. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not going to go storming the city council meeting like, we need to fix things.
January 6th.
Right.
Next
it's-
year.
Yeah.
January 6th,
down in City Hall.
2025. But Johnny,
yeah.
pulled up something earlier.
Johnny, what do you?
What was
Can you
that?
bring that back up? We want to see what we were working on that whole time, Johnny. And then Paul, I want you to fucking savagely critique.
What did
his
I
art.
tell you?
I know.
I want you to tear him apart like soft bread, Paul.
No, it's not my MO.
Johnny, you're a good sport. You come on here and all I've done is make fun
Well,
of
you mean the stuff?
Yes. No, yeah. Show us because you
The
brought it
stuff
up.
that
And I figured out how to make your screen solo too late.
Ginja.
It's
I was
not.
like, how do I make this a solo layout? I'm so dumb.
Just so you know, these. Just so you know, these aren't the finished characters.
No, that's
They're like
fine.
storyboard characters that I can give to the artist. But yeah, I've been doing a few different clan. It's about ninjas, basically. It's like a post-apocalyptic world.
Dude,
The
that looks good.
premise is like a post-apocalyptic Australia. Think kind of like Mad Max meets Naruto.
Okay, good.
I think.
Nice.
And that's like the ninja clans are
That-
based on they worship animals. So you've got like the crocodile clan and the kangaroo clan and stuff like that.
Johnny,
And
do you
this
know
is-
are there
this is,
crocodiles in Australia?
This is
Oh,
like
is
the
that
main
Liam?
character's dad. No, it's his dad.
Oh,
He's
it's his
Red Ned. He's an older gentleman.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got some of the story right. It's getting there.
What are you using for the colors?
What's that?
What are you using to color it?
Colouring. I've got like these. I'm just using these.
Markers?
They're like artist pens.
Yeah.
Yeah, markers.
Nice.
But yeah, like I said, they're just the rough designs, so I can give it to a better artist, just like so they get an idea of what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of better artists, I want to show something real quick since we've got him right here. You know what I mean, folks? Let me bring it up here. But I really appreciate Paul. I really appreciate you coming on. I think we're going to switch topics after this.
Okay.
I feel like we have not really fully talked about Tartaria, but I don't know. How does the chat, while I'm looking this up, chat, let me know how you feel about that. I think personally, after looking at what I've seen of Tartaria, that it's kind of nonsense. I'm not trying to be mean, Frederick Lamont. I'm sorry. And also, Frederick, if you could find me on Twitter and send me some more, like I'm still willing to look into more information. So please send me some more if you know you have time to do that. But it seemed a little like there's like no evidence at all to support the claim, and that's saying something from a guy who believes in conspiracies.
There's a reason why Tartaria. Yeah, I haven't seen any supporting primary sources.
Exactly.
And even all the hardcore conspiracy theorists, they never talk about it. So
right.
Yeah. Can I just jump in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Patrick, you said I'm not an expert. Yeah, I heard you earlier. You said I'm not really an expert. I wouldn't call myself an expert on that area. I'm just interested in the topic. But I'm with you guys. Like when I've looked at it, you know, you have different categories in your mind, right? There's things that you think, okay, that's probably, I believe that, like, or don't believe it, like the moon landings. I'm very firm on, like, that makes no sense. But ones like this, I'd put in a holding pattern because I do believe that there's some kind of hidden history. Cool, yeah. That's your character.
Keep talking.
Diamond, not damage. Diamond.
Keep talking about what you were saying.
Yeah. I 100% believe that if we're being lied to on all kinds of things, there's no reason probably they would have been altering our history for the purpose of manipulation and control. But there's a big leap to going that everything a guy on the internet says about Tartaria, like I see vast leaps of without any supporting evidence about what you say. And I also see a lot of confusion, like even in that space, and who has time to watch all the streams and study all the subjects? I was trying to keep up with it. and I don't know which channels you guys have been looking at. That's why I'm interested. But for example, there's this guy who I really like when he talks about level playing world, David Weiss. He's got and DITRH is his channel. He's got fascinating videos about that. But then he jumps into talking about Tartaria. Like he says, there are worldwide networks of airships for hundreds of years traveling around the world. And I'm like, dude, like where's the evidence of that? There were Zeppelins that they were trying to moor to towers in the admitted history. And they were trying to see if they could dock one to the Empire State Building. I forget if it was the Hindenburg or something, but and they were experimenting with Zeppelins and airships, R101 and R100 in Britain, and a whole bunch of other ones, the Macon in the US. Like that was a real thing. But to jump from that and say there was a worldwide network of airships that were powered by free energy or whatever, like I don't totally dismiss these things out of hand. I just want to see a lot more evidence and a lot more unraveling of this hidden history. And one of you earlier did say, maybe in the chat, maybe it was Frederick, things like that intrigue me are like, I think what he referred to, Frederick, about the giant doors and giant steps, like that are visibly there in monuments. And that's like, okay. It's like, do a bunch of guys that are our size just go around, get together and go, guys, like, let's just build some giant freaking, like, what, a 50 feet tall doors for no reason, but just because we want to spend the money. Like, no, this dumb. I mean, people don't do things like that. So there's a lot of, anecdotal, that's not anecdotal, but there's a lot of separate pieces of some kind of big puzzle. And that's where I'm resting with things like Tartaria. I could say more, like there's a channel called AWAR. Have you seen that? AEWAR?
No.
And he was one of the guys initially pushing Tartaria and questioning the past and hidden history. He's got really interesting videos. But then he backed off, and now there's, like always with these different topics, I haven't checked on it in the last few months, but the last I looked, there was a whole division and conflict and drama, which all these erupts, different camps forming, because this AWAR was backing off his claims and saying, when I looked into old photographic evidence and archives, some of his claims had gone too far. And so, for example, a lot of people were relying on photographic evidence, but then he was discovering that in the history of photography, there was a lot more manipulation a lot earlier than we know of typically. So when you trust photographic evidence, even if it's not AI created modern or CG created modern evidence, older evidence that's for like old photographs that are verifiably old photographs could themselves have been manipulated in the darkroom. And I would look at some of them, and I remember even in the 80s, as a young artist, being hired to airbrush and retouch different photos, which I got quite good at, much like they had done since the 20s and 30s. Like you get an advertising picture which is one I did, it was a photo of a car tire, and I had to very carefully retouch the treads and everything and airbrush them to make it look much slicker. So there's all kinds of stuff that has been done in the past, and it's like a vast mess that has to get untangled. The problem is, you're right, Frederick, exactly. The whole thing is it's just a tangled mess of different people with different knowledge bases. And then there's some exploiters or maybe even grifters who are trying to, gin the whole thing up and make money from clicks. And if you're a truth seeker, you're trying to wade through all this, which is why I don't blame guys like maybe some of the kings that if they just go, look, I just don't want to bother with any of that stuff, because there is that first thing when you dive into this, you push the crash bar in the door, you go into this big hall of all these conspiracies, or what I like to say is you go into the rabbit holes and you discover that there's a whole warren of rabbit holes. They're all connected underground. And then you find yourself going through all these things. It's very time consuming and very confusing. So that's my take on Tartaria. It's like, maybe, but I just want to hear a lot more. I want to sift through and really figure, like, there's something missing in our history for sure, a lot.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the most sensible approach. I think the approach you're describing is the most reasonable, because obviously you're saying that it bears more investigation, which that is the overall mindset that all of us have taken within the last few years that has led to realizing these things. I think it's best to have a mixed mentality where you're you're aware that things have been manipulated throughout history, but then you also have to be a little bit realistic and say, okay, well, there have been eyewitness accounts of things. We have primary sources throughout history, at least for the last 100 to 200 years, And so to say, well, there are general consensuses on things that I can believe, and then there are with a mixed bag of saying, with a grain of salt, for example, and saying, some of it most likely was manipulated.
Well, there's good guys and there's bad guys who all believe 100% what they believe, and they're going to write it down, and they want it to be passed on to posterity. How do you know who's what? You can't really. You just got to sift through all the information and see what stuff lines up with other stuff.
And
you're saying, Carbon, like you've got to believe some stuff, but you can't believe everything. And so,
and
it is a tiptoe thing. Go ahead.
When
sorry.
it comes, sorry. When it comes to the psychology of it, like I found in my life long before all this modern internet stuff, even being a little kid, there's a basic psychological thing that separates people, which is if you want to be an independent person, and in the modern school systems, almost no matter where you are in the world, most of them are probably similar. There's a whole thing of if you want to be an independent mind and you do not align, like, the birds in the flock are all going a certain way, and then there's a leader and there's people in shapes and follows. That's what they inculcate into you. Wait
a minute, pause. Did you guys hear that? He said inculcate. Do you fucking rubes even know what that word means in the chat?
Just like our chat readers rubes.
Let's just give him a hand here.
Oh my gosh, I disavow the chat.
Amazing. Inculcate.
That's an SAT word.
Right, that's right.
I hope I used it right. Otherwise, some autist in the chat will. You threw me right off.
Sorry, my bad.
That's because you're Canadian.
Yeah, well, no, you know what? It's General, it's because I have a British mom from Nottingham. Wow. My mother's from Nottingham, and she was very stickler about
That's what it is.
spelling.
Big brain.
Exactly. So, but what I'm saying is that regardless of the subject, the system programs people, like the school system and the general system of the world, programs people to recognize who is aligning and playing ball. And if you're a person who stops playing ball or resists or drags back, there's an invisible outing where everyone kind of knows, oh, there's one of those people here. And then some stuff happens. And that was like amplified and revealed by in the recent era of the last few years, when people were adamantly dragging back and saying, no, I'm not doing that. You're not putting this weird juice in my arm because no, I've got sovereignty and it's wrong. So that really revealed what was already there for years. I've seen that my whole life. If you just don't align with other people, that alone is enough to get you disliked. And it's annoying. It's annoying, but you try and just calm down and understand it. But that's really, it's so pervasive in modern people and modern life that itself is a mechanism that's in people. So that's the psychological side of it, that you don't have to have a psychological degree from a school to understand. It's just when you start noticing pack mechanics and how people work. Like I noticed it in younger school and particularly in high school. Yeah, I started understanding how all this stuff works. It's like, oh, I could be disliked not because of anything I actually did or failed to do, but simply because I don't agree. And that's ridiculous. But it's everywhere.
I was shocked that during the whole pandemic, the body sovereignty thing, like, what was it? People, they
coming
adopted
from all these pro-abortion people.
Yeah, exactly. My body, my choice.
You're right.
How that didn't break through to them. Are you fucking kidding me? You guys,
totally
you have all these people that live by that. My body, my choice. Well, guess what? You're not sticking something in me if I don't want it. Right? Yeah. My body, my choice, smart guy.
Exactly. And then, but the thing is that with unfortunately too often with people, even exposing with words their logical contradiction of that, it still doesn't make any difference because they'll just, they're not people on principle who will actually alter their behavior and go, oh, you got me, you're right. Exactly. That's totally logically.
That proves that they have no morals.
Right.
Yeah.
That proves that they're actually corrupt.
And I think that's a good point for, what what we were talking about, where not everybody, when you were saying, Paul, people get mad at you and they dislike you for the things that you believe. But the people who do like you, they may not agree with everything you have to say or the way you say it or, yada, yada. But at least you know that those people who do agree with you are more honest in their agreement with you than anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's nice to see that there's people like in the chat right now. There's like Carbon Heart, Dr. Ben, General Scab here. I mean, General Scab hasn't said anything. I think he's writing this all down and sending it off to MI6. But everybody else, in the chat has been.
It's an interesting.
I know, Johnny. So it's just like, when you meet people who are willing to, like these people in the chat and all of us here, we don't necessarily agree with each other 100%, but there's a point, there's like almost like a switch where it's like, okay, do you trust everything that you've been told to believe by the proper authorities? The answer, no. Then suddenly all those people in that no category are just like way more honest and upfront and just, good, personable people to be around than everybody else you meet in your life regularly, who are just kind of faking it to go along with what everybody else thinks so that they're not judged. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing I always notice, Patrick, is it's about, like I said, it's not always about. Sure. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Let the king speak.
Carry on, mate. I'll talk in a minute. Carry on.
Oh, well, no, I was just going to say, it's not only about the topic, whether you would agree or disagree. It's just the very fact that you have a different opinion, And so there's always an invisible pressure to realign and just don't rock the boat. So it's, in that sense, like we might be talking about politics or, body autonomy in the lockdown, but it's a similar exact, or probably exactly the same mechanism that many people have noticed. I see people on Twitter talking about it when they talk about, for example, in the personal development sphere of whatever kind. So if you're a person, maybe you're in school, a teenager, and you develop, you discover that you have an art talent and you want to develop it. Well, then your buddies notice this, or your social circle. You could even be your family, and you have ambition. Oh, you're working hard. You develop yourself and you get some results. You start improving, you start changing. Well, it's like there's a mobile, like one of those hanging mobiles where everything's connected by strings, from the 60s or whatever. So that's what social things are like. And if you rock the boat, but in that way, by changing and not aligning and not taking the role that you've been assigned, what you discover is that people have very strange reactions. Sometimes unexpectedly good, like people you wouldn't think become your allies and say, oh, you're doing good. In my case, it was like, young man, you're working on your art but then other people you didn't think they're like, whoa, I'm threatened, because if you go ahead and improve and learn stuff and change your life by doing that, I'm left looking in their own eyes. They're thinking, well, what am I doing? And so that explains so much in life. I think it's a kind of jealousy. And it's a kind of hidden envy that comes to play. And that's what we saw with the lockdowns and all that stuff, is like, if people didn't align and follow along, they got so threatened. And again, like what you were saying, Patrick, it revealed with this bright light the misalignment between their words and their actions. Like a lot of those people would have said, oh yeah, I believe in free speech or body autonomy. But then when the push came to shove, they were revealed as hypocrites. And so they hate you even more because you don't back off. Anyway, there you go.
I love Johnny pulling out his weapons. Johnny's just been showing his hardware.
What was that?
Johnny, what were you going to say before?
Yeah, Johnny.
That's my favorite.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I was going to ask Paul. I was going to say, this is changing the subject a little bit. What's your opinion on celebrity replacement conspiracy theory? Like famous celebrities being replaced by doppelgangers.
And doppelgangers, clones, masks, and all that stuff. Yeah, I've heard of some of these things. Yeah, no, I've been trying. I mean, it's like a moving parade of all these things, right? So I've been trying to follow it. That's hard to. It's really hard to say because you've got layers to go through. Like it's not like you're in a room with someone and they pull a mask off and they're there and you're like, oh, that's real. So we're going through layers of things we've seen where there's videos. There could be AI videos. There's hearsay. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to really figure out. And that's for me is in the same category as what I said about Tartaria. It's like I'm very interested by it and I. Try and follow it the best I can, but I'm very careful. Unlike people who would have said about the moon landings, oh, this guy's a nut. Like I don't bite on anything that now you learn after a while to not grab on too hard. You just like examine it. I think of it like a waiting room. You put it in your mental waiting room, you interview them and see, does this have any credence? Like, should I give this credence? Is it consistent? What are other people saying? And you just give it some time. So I've seen all that stuff on X mostly. Like I've seen that, Elvis is still alive and he's, what's his name? He's a pastor in the Southwest. They say that Elvis is alive and he's this guy, I forget the name, the chat might know. And there's a guy who's a pastor in one of the southeastern states of the US that sings exactly like Elvis. So they say this is Elvis and he was like you're only on stage for a while, but you can exit. So he didn't really die in 1977. He's just gone into some other life. Or there's a whole thing with Michael Jackson and what was the character that he went on CNN as with a burned face? This guy, Mike, or what was this? There's a name. I saw these videos about that, and he really was on Larry's name. You saw that, yeah. So there's all of these things going around. But which of them are real? Bob Royce, there you go. Frederick's really tuned in. There's all of these things. Which of them are real?
Turned on. Oh God.
Turned on is wrong. Tuned in.
You pulled a Patrick there, Paul.
Yeah.
There was a recent case. Jamie Foxx, they said, was replaced. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, I did.
Last year.
Well,
he disappeared for a few months.
He
got sick. He had a stroke, Jamie Foxx, and he disappeared. But here's the thing. Here's what makes it suspicious. Earlier, Patrick mentioned something which is referred to as predictive programming, where they reveal to you something that they're actually doing in plain sight for the purpose of it being introduced. So there was a movie with Jamie Foxx. I forgot the name of it. Damn it! It was on Netflix last year, right before he disappeared. Yes. And in that movie, he was replaced by a clone. This is not it's not a coincidence. These things are not a coincidence. They always time it.
I will say I lean that way. I lean that way towards these probably like they're if I've learned anything, it's that there's so much more that we need to know than we in the like what you call normie space. It's a tight little circle. When you're in it, you think, oh, that's the world. But when you start seeing a lot of these things at least have very big holes, whether you want to go whole hog, but any of these things like the moon landings or any of these other subjects, when you actually take the time to examine the evidence, which on the Kings thing I was trying to get across, I was trying to say, look, you don't have to agree with me, and I can't even convince you because that's not how it works. You have to convince yourself. And you convince yourself if you want to by being interested, go and look at the stuff. It's a lot of work. And, people laughingly from the outside say, oh, you can't do research. You think you're an expert, but you actually can do research. Research can be reading stuff. It can be comparing what different people say at different times or from different sources and so on and so on. There's like
the only difference between you and a researcher is a piece of paper that they paid for. A research assistant who paid thousands of dollars to say I'm a researcher versus you, who's just doing the research also.
And then
it's funny to think about people. Like, you guys, I don't know if you've been to college, but you go and you read the books and you hear some information. How much of that information did you actually remember and know in your mind right now? You know what I mean? You've got all these experts saying, I'm an expert in this field and I'm an expert in this field. What that means is that you passed a test in that field, which means that you studied for a test in that field. It doesn't necessarily mean that you know everything about that subject or that you have some some superior understanding of the information that is readily accessible by the masses to everybody else. All it means is that you passed a test on the subject. So all these people say, "Oh, I'm an expert on this, that, or the other." It's like, well, so like for instance, in my particular, I can say this for me. When people say, "Oh, I'm a religious history expert," I can say, "Well, okay, well then I guess that means I am too." And they would say, "Well, you don't. Where's your degree?" Well, I don't have a degree, but I've decided to read every religious book and everybody's accounts of everything to try to figure out what exactly is going on in the world around me. And that's not acceptable though, because we live in a world that's surrounded by, well, I'm sorry, this
credentialism. It's
right.
credentialism.
It's all, right. Expertism. Like if we must trust the experts. And again, this comes back to the same point you were making on Comicsgate Kings and the one I made earlier today, that this whole like obsession with the experts, when in reality, like you just have to look into information on your own. And if you see something, I don't know, I got distracted because fucking anyway, we got a hot news tip, ladies and gentlemen. What do you got, Dr. Ben? What's this hot news tip?
Really? You want me to bring it up? No.
News with Dr. Ben.
Well, you said it was a hot news tip. We got to know the news.
You want me to share it? I could do that.
Let's do it.
No, I don't want you to share it, but I want you to talk about it with no visual.
Oh, okay.
Said sarcastically. No, bring it up. Bring it up.
Bring it up.
Share it. Share it.
You got it through shortwave radio.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a new. It's a new podcast. As I said, it's called The Master. It just dropped today. The allegations against Neil Gaiman.
Wow.
It is his nanny. Nanny said that I listened to the first 2 episodes. There's 4 episodes so far.
There's already 4 episodes.
4 episodes. Wow.
Yeah.
It happened today, didn't it?
That's what I'm saying. It was like, I think they dropped all of them at the same time. But there was like a case in Australia where like they had opened it, but it never went further. I'm still trying to make heads or tails of it, but it doesn't look real good for Mr. Gayman. It is.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a good segue into winding down the show, as old General Scab says.
Yeah.
So before I wind down, though, ladies and gentlemen who are here, if you guys are wondering, if you don't know who Paul Ravoche is, this is the kind of stuff that Paul does. Do you look at this? I mean, I don't have to say words to you folks to let you know how beautiful this thing is. I can just quote that guy. Would you just look at it? Just look at it. Terribly, terribly amazing. This is Diamond, the leader of the Research and Development Soviet 6th Directorate. That's kind of a mouthful, I know. He's the guy who created the superhumans in the Soviet Union. If you guys want to, I don't care if you want to or not, I'm ordering you as your general to subscribe to Paul Ravoche right now on his YouTube channel at Rocket Fiction. His Twitter handle is also Rocket Fiction. Please go subscribe to him. He's coming out with videos frequently, and he's on Comicsgate Kings, as well as other channels. Thank you, Frederick. It is, isn't it?
Thanks,
terribly
Frederick.
is.
Fellow Canadian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which then again, that leads me into another segue. Cover B, I've got it. I got the email today that Cover A is on its way. So y'all are going to be receiving your comic books. These 30, they ended up being 34 pages. I said 30, but it ended up being 34. And it's cool because it even allowed me some room at the end to do some character bios, which were a lot of fun to do. I got to be honest. I love the character bio thing. It's like very 90s to me. I don't know. It just reminds me of the old days when it's like you gave a shit about the comic book you were reading and you weren't just like, oh, I'm buying it for the cover. Perfect. Thank you, Frederick. So that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude our conspiracy theory evening for tonight. I would like a big thank you to Paul Ravoche, the CG Conspiracy King, as we'll christen him now.
Well, thanks Thank you. For having me on, and I'm glad to meet everybody here too, the ones I haven't met. So I was going to ask Scab, but I'll maybe another time about the ULAS Blade Runners thing. I assume you're in Britain, right? Are you in Britain? Are you in Britain?
Yeah, I'm in England. If you'd like, to join me in 10 minutes after Pat's show, once the outro's gone, I'm going to do a stream called The Officer's Mess. You're welcome to come along if you want. It's up to you.
Okay, how do I get to that?
Johnny, you can just email him the link, or I'll email him. I'll copy the link and send
On
it to him.
Johnny Scab's channel.
Johnny Scab? Okay. On X? Or maybe
Yeah,
give me a
just
follow
give
on
him-
X.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, just put it in the
Johnny,
chat.
Johnny, when you send me the link,
I'd
I'll
like
send
to
it
chat
to
to you
Paul.
more, Paul. You're an interesting man.
Yeah.
Yeah, look. This is
Thank you, Mr. Perfect.
Sweet.
Thanks, chat. Everybody in the chat
Okay.
for showing up. You guys are amazing. We are going to close out the stream tonight. It was a really great stream. I really appreciate everybody's patience on us talking about Tartaria. And honestly, I really enjoyed tonight. I really, really enjoyed tonight more than I enjoyed talking shit on stupid people. I enjoyed talking about conspiracy theories. I don't know how you chat feel about it, but let us know and like make a comment after the video is done to let me know if you prefer. Just tell me what you guys prefer. You prefer us talking about the drama, or you prefer us talking about conspiracies? I know what I think, but I'd like to hear what you guys think. And so with that, everybody
Combination
jump
of both.
on Johnny Scab's channel in a few minutes here. He's going to be going live. Colonel Carbon, thank you for coming on. Dr. Ben, thank you for coming on. Paul, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks,
General
Patrick.
Scab,
Thanks, everybody.
go fuck yourself. I'm just kidding, Johnny. I love you. I'll see you in a little bit. And with that, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to say.